great city of Denton, Texas. I am Jake Levine, joined by Jazzer Williams, Gabe Ife, and Adam C. We're going to talk about some mean green hoops today and college basketball as a whole. It's the best show. We're approaching the best time of the year, March, as in March Madness. So, guys, how are we doing today? How are we doing on this fine Saturday morning?
I'm doing great.
Jazz, we're doing good, Gabe?
Doing awesome.
Doing awesome?
I'm doing pretty good, Jake. How about you?
Dude, I am doing fantastic.
Great
so
to
I'm going
hear,
to go watch
man.
some Mean Green play some basketball today. Let's talk about these two losses, though, that we suffered and blew our at-large chances out of the window. At home to UTSA, on the road in Birmingham, Alabama to the Blazers. Just what happened? I mean, somebody started off, sound off. What happened against the Roadrunners?
I'm just going to be perfectly honest, man. Our offense cannot take care of the ball. Both against UAB and against UTSA, they both got 17 points against us off of turnovers. We had 16 turnovers against UTSA, and we had 15 against UAB. That's the problem I'm seeing with this team right now. We're not taking care of the ball. And something else that I'd like to comment on, Atten Wright's playing 40 minutes. And he's only notching 10 points. We don't have a standout guy on this team right now. And I think that's something that we really need if we want to compete come March.
Well, and when we are taking care of the ball, we're not hitting our shots. Look at these highlights right here. You see 11 points with almost 12 minutes left. We finished that half with 13 points. Yeah. That's unacceptable.
2 points in 12 minutes.
2 points in 12 minutes is terrible. And it's not like, all respect to UTSA, because they came into Denton, Texas. They played good defense, and they won this game. So you have to give them props. But coming in this game, they had a 200-some rating in the net rankings. Ken Palm was just around that, probably just as bad. They're not a great basketball team. Now, they do have a first-year head coach. He's trying to establish an identity. Comes from Alabama. You know, they have a really good coaching tree there. So you know he's going to come in and start to, implement his vision for this UTSA program. But this is a team that we should not be down 13 points with 15 minutes left in the second half. And so when you start that bad, when you can't take care of the ball, and when you are taking care of the ball and can't hit shots, you're not coming back and winning the game no matter how you play in the second half.
Jasmine.
I think one great point to mention is that UNT has a very big momentum issue that we've seen in previous seasons, and it has showed up again. Like we said, in the first half, they went on a very, very bad shooting spell where they didn't score for 8.5 minutes. And so whenever you start that bad, when you're a team that has a slow style of play, that's fine. If that's how you want to establish your team's offense, that's great. But with that slow style of play, you have to be able to have quality possessions. We can't take every single possession and then not end up with more points on the board. That's really been our issue, is because each possession that we're having in these games, we're not taking care of the ball to where we're adding points. And when you play against teams that can run and gun, that can speed up the pace, and that can score very quickly, that puts them in a bad spot, especially going into the second half. And that's what we saw. They had to try and make a comeback, and UNT is not a fast-paced transition team. So now they're not even playing how they play. That's not even their play style. So they're playing out of something they're not familiar with. So I think all of that put together, I would say that UNT having a very slow start and that shooting spell really, really put them down.
Quality possessions. I want to jump into that, just expand on that. That second half, we started to get back into it. That last couple minutes, we might have had like 2 quality possessions the last 5 minutes.
That's generous.
I don't know what Jasper Floyd was doing. I don't know what Atten Wright was doing at the very end of the game. You're down 2 with 20 seconds left, and you jack up a contested 3 when you have time to try and establish a play, get a play going, get to the basket, maybe kick it out for a 3. I'm not against a 3, but to take that as your first shot, you get another shot with down 2 again with 7 seconds left, and you try and do an alley-oop. Now, a lot of people I've talked to don't really like the play. They think it's a little too aggressive. I'm not necessarily against it, but Jasper Floyd's decision-making, he should have, once he knew he was going to do that 2 seconds sooner, do that 2 steps sooner, because that gave time for the UTSA big that's in between him to jump up and easily get that ball, because he did it way too late. And so that decision-making down the stretch just killed the chances. If you're going to fall behind, you need to have good decision-making, which is something we saw with Tyler Perry, even some with Jason Edwards, not a ton. But, we just don't have that right
I think that last play, honestly, the alley-oop, it's kind of the right call. It was really an art to an alley-oop. It's not just a highlight play. I think it was the right play to make. It's just wasn't executed. And that was really the story of this game, and that's kind of been the story of any loss that we've had is it's a lot of possessions that take 25 seconds to develop into anything, and then you're just having to put up something, and it's just not going to work if you're not able to hit shots on that given day. You know, it's like shooting can come and go just like that, and so when you're taking 26 seconds, 27 seconds, 28 seconds to even get a look at the rim, you're relying on a fast break alley-oop to beat a quad 4 team. It's just not going to fly at them.
And to actually comment more on stuff I saw in the clutch, I saw way too many possessions where it's maybe 1 or 2 guys handling the ball the whole time. Everyone around them is not moving. There's 0 off-ball movement, 0 off-ball screens, 0 screens even set for the ball handler. I mean, it's guys waiting around for an opportunity. You need to make those opportunities. I mean, you can rely on your defense as much as you want, but when your offense plays the equivalent of a middle school play style, it's not going to look good, and you are going to go down like you did against UTSA and UAB.
Now, I want to talk about UAB because we've got to get to it, because the UAB loss is, you know, really one that could be expected. I don't think anyone expected the UTSA loss, but UAB were on the road. We were underdogs in that game, and we were in it really the whole time, but in my opinion, it's just never really felt like a game that we were going to win. It felt like a game we were going to be in it the whole time. That's how every matchup is with UAB. I never once thought during that game, yeah, we're going to come out on top in this game. Why could I have thought that?
You know, we talk about the ball movement. There's a play I showed y'all all off air before we got on here. With about 9 minutes left, Jasper Floyd gets the ball. We take it down off a missed 3. I believe we're down 2 or so. We get the ball, bring it down. We have 1 off-ball screen for Adam Ryan at the very beginning to get a little bit better of a guard matchup, I believe. And after that, Jasper Floyd takes it down into the post. And other than Massey calling for the ball at the top of the key, nobody else moves. Nobody else does anything on that possession, and it leads to a missed shot. I believe it was called a travel. I believe he had a little jump stop, but that was with 22 seconds left in the shot clock.
Yeah.
Nobody else touched the ball. Barely anybody else even moved or did anything. And so that lack of movement. Now, you can say we're expected to lose this game, but your offense, if you have more ball movement, you have a much better chance of winning that game.
I want to touch back on the fact that UNT's play style is slow. And like I said earlier, that's fine. But whenever you see teams that like to take their time on offense, they have methodical movements. They set really good screens. They have great cuts, backdoor cuts. They drop into the corner. They drop into the seams to where you can drive and kick or pass and swing the ball. UNT only has that on really good days. So for me, I'm trying to figure out if UNT has this slow style of play that they like, why is there not more ball movement, like you said? And even with that play that you were talking about, they make a pass, or even many plays that we've seen with UNT is they make a pass into the post, and then all of the guards are on the perimeter standing there. Y'all have to move, because when you guys move, whether you're getting the ball or not, or if you're trying to kick the ball out, or if they're just trying to, if this is actually just a post play, then you're making the defense shift and making the defense move instead of they can have their hands on their hips and just watch and wait for the rebound. And another thing is the guards on the perimeter aren't going to rebound when the post misses or even anticipating the rebound. So my thing is that if we have this slow style of play, you'll have to take it to your advantage and actually use what a slow style of play is for. And we don't have the quality of possessions and the ball movement and just the movement in general to be playing this slow style. So in my sense, it's like, what offense do we really have?
And, you know, I think offense is certainly something that we say every year. Offense does not travel to March Madness the way that defense does. And I think the UTSA game was a perfect example of when the lights get too bright. There were over 5,000 people there. One of the loudest games I've ever heard in the Super Pit. Lights got too bright. They couldn't make a shot. That's how it was, especially in that first half. Not even the second half was all that good at shooting. So you got to think, you know, that'll take us into our next point here. Postseason. There's the NIT. There's March Madness. There's a CBI if we want it. Or they're sitting on the couch. I know we don't want that. Where is this team headed? Because you got to think, even if this team makes March Madness after winning the American tournament, at large is out. If they win the American tournament, let's say even this is talking about in the American tournament, can this offense travel real quick, guys? I just want to touch on it real quick.
I think that we will make the NIT, but we're only going to finish second in the American.
I don't see us making the NCAA tournament either. I think we finish around third or so and then lose second round or so of the NIT.
I think that we definitely make it to the NIT. We finished second in the American, but our offense barely travels at home. So I don't think it's going to take us far.
I think that's a good point. I think we all have pretty much a consensus. I could see us making the NCAA tournament, but it's going to take really just a phenomenal showing in Fort Worth. We'll see. When we come back, we're going to talk about this season as a whole, as kind of a broad perspective. Where can this team go? Where has this team been? So don't go anywhere right here on Mean Green Mania.
What's wrong? Are you stuck in your paper?
Pretty much. I haven't written anything in like an hour.
Why don't you check out the Writing Center at UNT?
Well, how do I meet up with them?
All you have to do to make an appointment is visit the Writing Center's website and either call the number or email writingcenter@unt.edu. The appointment is 30 minutes long, and the trained tutors will be able to help with brainstorming, correcting grammar, ensuring clarity, and a wide range of services. They also do walk-in appointments.
That sounds awesome. I'm gonna check them out.
So, when's this paper due?
30 minutes?
For more information, visit the UNT Writing Center's website.
Yeah, it's 6 pages.
Willis Library, located at the University of North Texas. It has computers, printers, and the building is open 24/7. By going online, you can book up to an hour of reserved space and one of the many private study rooms. Many of them are equipped with whiteboards, a table, and a TV to hook up to your computer. Textbooks can be checked out for free with a student ID. They also have many of these in ebook forms. This is still a library, so always remember to be quiet and respectful of other surroundings, especially in certain places where talking is not allowed. For example, the 3rd and 4th floor are completely quiet. As you can see, Willis Library has many options for students, with it offering many media sources and staying open all the time.
Welcome back to Mean Green Mania. I'm Jake Levine, live from Denton, Texas. I'm joined by Jasmine Williams, Gabe Ife, and Adam C. We're talking about the North Texas Mean Green, who have a game this afternoon right here in Denton, 2 o'clock at the Super Pit, North Texas versus Tulane. Kind of a big game, actually, in terms of the American Conference standings. We'll talk about that game later in this show, but right now we're going to talk about this season as a whole. What we've seen so far, 6 losses, the main ones being McNeese, Utah State, UAB, and Memphis kind of as the top ones, as well as unfortunate losses to High Point and, of course, UTSA at home. So we have talked about the UTSA game and the UAB game quite a bit, but we also have 16 wins to talk about here, guys. It's not like this team is awful. We're acting like this team is bottom half of the American. We're 7-3 right now. We're currently sitting as the top 4 seed, which is kind of the magic number that I mentioned before we got on the show. Can we get the top 4 seed to have the bye in the conference tournament? So let's talk about what we've seen so far the entire year. Unfortunately, the non-con had a bunch of NAIA schools and kind of random games. But what's been the key takeaways from really this all 22 games?
I think that UNT as a whole has obviously played very well. And with this stat that we're looking at, largest margin of victory, there's so many great stats for UNT. But I think that the important thing with these games is that they looked a little bit more cohesive and they did not start off bad. That's a really, really big issue that UNT has, which we'll talk about more later. But I think, honestly, they've been playing well in the games that they do play well in. And, you know, it's kind of funny to say that, but truly they are. They're playing well. They're keeping their turnovers low. The guards look good, which makes the rest of the team look good. The defense is generally doing very well. So it's just the losses that you can see the little cracks and seems like, okay, this has to get fixed.
And I think that UNT fans, honestly, and us also, focus on the losses because we've been so used to success with this program for the last 5 years. We kind of freak out over a loss. I'm not going to lie. We do. But let's talk about the 16 wins.
I was going to mention that. I think, you know, Graham McCaslin did a great job of setting the bar, you know, setting the expectation, and Ross Hodges continued that. I think part of it is when we have the health that we've had this season. You know, last year we had so many injuries. We had so many starters out on a consistent basis that you could kind of understand the struggles we had. I think part of the frustration is we've had healthiness, that's not a term. We've been healthy, And so to see these struggles come into conference play, that just feels like a thing that we've experienced each year where we have a loss that we shouldn't have. I think that's really what gets Mean Green fans frustrated. We had that graphic earlier. Defense has traveled. That's another thing that Graham McCaslin really brought to Denton, and that Ross Hodge just continued. The best defense in the American, that's not changing. It's really the offense. It's really the guard play, in my opinion. I really think Brendan Lorient and Mulai Sissoko have really shined in these 22 games and these 16 wins especially. I think they've been great, but really what wins you games in March Madness and what will win us games down the stretch isn't the big man play. Mulai Sissoko has been amazing. He's developed so much. I love seeing his development over the years. He's amazing with free throws now. It used to be not amazing, but he's pretty good. It used to be an event watching those. From the field, his offensive performance is amazing. But really, down the stretch, what is going to win us games is seeing guys like Adam Wright and Jasper Floyd really step up and make plays, and that's something we're not seeing at critical points in our losses so far this year.
I can agree because Atten Wright, 13.5 points. In his previous 2 years, averaged 17 points with Cal State Northridge, 15 with Drake, and also has a 95% free throw percentage. Why are we not driving more at the end of the game? And also to parrot what y'all said about the losses, I don't want to focus on them too hard because looking at our losses, McNeese State, High Point, Utah State, and Memphis, you're facing teams that are in the high brass of their conference.
Take a look at this graphic here. Atten Wright and PJ Haggerty, you can compare these two guys as really the stars for both their teams. I mean, UNT's kind of more well-rounded than Memphis, in my opinion, in terms of scoring output. Can they spread it around more? But PJ Haggerty, leads that Memphis team along with Dane Danger. That's a Hall of Fame name, Dane Danger. He goes up against Brendan Lorient, and Lorient has kind of taken on a role that I'm not sure I like all that much because I feel like early in the season, Lorient was a guy that kind of showed up and played a lot better than we expected, and now that he's averaging 12.5 a game and dominating in terms of the defensive end, he's averaging over a block a game, really electric guy. He's kind of seemed to be more of the centerpiece of the offense and of the team overall. Do you guys like that? Because in my opinion, I don't. I think that Brendan Lorient is better as kind of a backseat guy, in my opinion.
I'm going to say I agree with you. I think that post presence is very important. Posts that touch the ball, those are the teams that win. When you get the ball to your post, that's when you win because you're able to do so much. But I think that with the guard talent that we have, we should be able to expand on this guard talent like Atten Wright. I think that he needs to be more of like a sleeper position to where Atten Wright and the guard should be the main spotlight, but they can get the ball through the post and, produce through that, especially on offense. I feel like he's shown a little bit too much of that potential, and I think that UNT has tried to capitalize on that, but I think they're making the wrong move when they need to focus on Atten Wright and how much he can really decide games, and he does. Whenever he shows up and the team wins, or he usually does so much better. Whenever he's passive and he chooses to take a back seat, that's when the team struggles.
There's a reason why Aaron Scott wasn't the focal point of the offense these past couple of years for the Mean Green.
Really good comparison, I think.
And
Aaron
so
Scott to Lorient.
I really think Brendan Lorient's in that same boat, like you were saying, Jake. I don't think he should be the focal point of this offense. There's a reason why Tyler Perry was. Now, I'm not saying we have a guard with the talent level of him, but you need a guard that has that aggressiveness. You had Jason Edwards last year. Obviously we lost in the second round. You're not comparing that to an NIT championship team, when you lose in the second round of the NIT. But he had that aggressiveness. You have to, like I said earlier, guards win games in March. You don't do these upset teams, these Cinderella teams. It's not because they have a big man averaging 15 a game. It's because they have a guard like Jack Golke with Oakland, just chucking up threes and hitting them. You have guards that'll take you places. That's really what gets you wins at critical points late in games. It's not because you have a big man that can come off a pick and roll. You have a guard that will make a special play, and we just haven't seen that. And so to get this offense for it to get out of its rut, we need a guard to step up and do that.
Adam, do you have thoughts on Brendan Lorient, kind of his usage?
I actually love Brendan Lorient. Coming off the bench, averaging 12.5 points per game. I think this guy's solid, and what I think they're trying to do is kind of groom him to be that, real big post scorer next year, similar to what Sissoko is now. However, I think it's too early to do that because as y'all said, we no longer have a standout. It's Atten Wright with 13.5, Brendan Laurent coming off the bench with 12, and then a steep drop-off with Jonathan Massey only averaging 8. And we even talked about off-air before this started. Jonathan Massey looks like a really good scorer, but I don't think we're giving him those opportunities.
Yeah.
And as all of y'all have said, our guard play simply is not good enough. And it's going to show in tournaments, and we're going to get exposed in the American tournament. And if we make it, March Madness, because if this team makes March Madness, I'm going to be honest, I see us getting blown out of the water by whoever we face.
Now, let's talk about the American tournament real quick before we move on from this segment. Now, the American tournament's in Fort Worth, so obviously UNT will have the most support there of any fan base. And, you know, last year they went to the American tournament and won the first game against Tulane, lost in a heartbreaker to FAU. How does that team compare to this team? Just quick thoughts on how this year's team can pull it out that last year's team couldn't.
I think that last year's team had a standout guard, and that's something we've been very, emphatic on. And this year's team, I think what they really need to do is find what they're good at on offense. I feel like our offense hasn't quite pulled it together. I think last year we were relying on the athleticism of those really good guards. This year, if they can get their offense together and maintain their really good defense, I think we could pull it out.
I agree. Continue the mean green defense like we've always seen, and then you need a guy like Adam Wright or Jasper Floyd to be able to create opportunities for themselves and take over games late.
Adam?
I agree. I just want more from our guards going into this tournament. I think it'll really help us if we can actually get more guard play from Atten Wright. And honestly, I still want more from Massey. I really do. I believe in that kid.
Well, though, folks, we are going to talk about some national college basketball news and some games coming up when we come back after this short break, so don't go anywhere.
Good evening, my name is Amanda Hasbell, and I'm joining you here today in the Union Parking Garage. Today we're going to be going over how to drive safely in the parking garage. Let's go see. Oh my God, this girl just got hit by a car. Let's go see what happened. Ma'am, are you okay?
Did you see that lady hit me with a car?
Yeah, we did. I got it all on video.
Oh my God.
Let's go over here and talk about how we can prevent that.
Yeah, not the hospital.
Well, right now we're going to ask you a couple questions on how we can drive safely in the parking lot. What are ways that we can be aware of our surroundings?
Oh, we can look both ways.
Jenna, also, how about putting the distractions away?
Yes, just like our phones, turning our music down, and also not focusing on our passengers.
Where can you get information on how to get a parking pass?
Transportation.unt.edu.
If you park in a garage, make sure you pay on the app or look for further instructions on how you should pay.
And remember, no pass, no park. Let's all try to keep our mean green community safe.
Remember, we're all in this together.
Drive safe.
Has this ever happened to you?
My bike is gone.
Stolen bikes are an epidemic sweeping college campuses across America.
What am I supposed to do?
It's quite simple. The We Mean Green Fund has partnered with the UNT Police Department to offer free bike locks to any UNT student with a bike. Just show up with your bike in tow and ask.
Now I'll never lose my bike ever again.
Enough worrying. Get your bike lock today.
Welcome back to Mean Green Mania. I am Jake Levine here, joined by the great Jazzer Williams, Gabe Ife, Adam C., live from Denton, Texas, in our great studios at North Texas Television. We have got some phenomenal freshmen to talk about because this freshman class in this year's men's college basketball has been just really insane. Me personally, I'm a huge Cooper Flag fan. I know Adam is too, but we'll get to that later because we have so many guys to talk about. And it's interesting to me that, Jazzer, you want to talk about
Dylan Harper.
And I think the most interesting part of that is Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey together on Rutgers, and Rutgers is still garbage. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's how we're starting this.
shot.
So one of my favorite things in basketball is a great passing point guard. Now, even more so is a point guard that plays defense, and he is so active on both sides of the ball. Now, you did mention that Rutgers is still trash, but I think that makes him even better is because he's still a high standout player with his team still being trash, and he makes his team look so much better, even though they are still losing. But with all that to say, he's an amazing passing point guard. He has crazy vision, crazy IQ. He has amazing footwork, beautiful footwork, and I think that he just has a seniority and a poise to him. But you have to remember, he's a freshman. he has so much calm and he keeps his composure so well that it's undeniable to really just love Dylan Harper.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that combo, if they can make some sort of run here at the end of the season, that's not really a team that you would want to play in the NCAA tournament, right?
I agree.
Yeah. Gabe, who are we looking out for?
Give me my main man, Trey Johnson. Listen, he's averaging 19 points a game in the Southeastern Conference. That's the best conference in the country, and he's leading the conference in points per game. That's just incredible. With how many elite defenders, how many elite defensive teams there are in the SEC, that makes it so much more impressive. He's such a dynamic scorer. I think his skills are going to translate fantastic into the NBA. There's a reason why he's a top 10 pick. You just look at his offensive capability. He doesn't need to be playing at the college level. His skills will fit right into the NBA. He does have a little bit more playmakers than Dylan Harper has at Rutgers. He has a couple guys like Tremont Mark, Arthur Kaluma, Kendall Weaver's a good player. But he's single-handedly carrying this Texas team towards the NCAA tournament bid. And if he can make a run there, it's going to be because of him. And so to do that, given the expectations coming in, a top 10 projected pick since his high school senior year, and just to exceed those expectations and just continue to play great. You look at what he did against A&M. He's just been incredible, and so that's why he's my freshman.
Yeah, and I think especially that A&M game showed a lot, actually, because you look at down the stretch in the second half, all those clutch shots that he hit. When you make it to March, that's the guy you need on your team, because not a lot of times is shooting travel into big games like that against A&M.
Yeah, I totally agree. 37% from three. He's not scared to shoot the rock, and when he does shoot it, he tends to make it, especially in those clutch moments. That's something you need. He just doesn't have pressure. He's fearless. He just goes into these, he jacks it up. If he misses it, oh well, he's going to be right in that position in the next game.
Gabe,
and so,
do you like Texas? Like, are you a fan of Texas, maybe? Is that possible?
Just a little bit. I have to say hook 'em.
A little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And by a little
now
bit,
you're downplaying for the camera because he called you out.
But literally, every day I'm watching every single one of their games. There might have been a little bias in this pick. Hook 'em horns. I love Rodney Terry. I hope he does well this March.
Okay, moving on. Adam, let's go for Cooper Flagg.
All right, Jake. I hate to be basic, but it's Cooper Flagg, man. Yes. He is the best freshman I have seen in a very long time. He's got great shooting, especially on the road. 50% away splits. Has only 3 games where he scores less than 10, one of which features his career high in assists with 7. But not only the offense, I want to talk about his defense. You mentioned he averages 1 block, 1 steal a game. And also, he's such a rare archetype. If I were an NBA scout, I would want this guy because as a 4, he elevates defense both as a wing stopper and also provides really great help defense and secondary rim protection. He has incredible defensive instincts, and I think in the NBA, this guy could feature on an elite team and could easily find his way in the finals somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I think what stands out to me the most is the way he's able to move with the basketball in his hands with his size. Because you look at a guy that averages a block and a steal a game, you're thinking, okay, he's probably a big guy that, just gets his hands on a lot of balls. He's also averaging 20 a game, and he's shooting the ball almost 50% from the field. And we just saw a clip of him back-to-back shooting a 3, nothing but net, and then taking off from the ACC logo and slamming it home. I think, honestly, as far as freshmen go, he is one of the greatest we've seen in our lifetime. I think in terms of potential, I think he's the clear #1 pick in the NBA draft. Please, my Charlotte Hornets, please get to draft him. I hope we get the #1 pick. I think it's just no question that he is the best freshman in this class. I'm sorry, guys, he is. There's just debate me on it. I don't think you can.
No, I will agree with you. I think it's obvious that Cooper Flagg is definitely a rare talent that we haven't seen in a long time, or maybe even ever. But I chose Dylan Harper because I'm just an appreciator of defense and point guards that are actually active, because there are so many point guards that just try and take the spotlight and take all the points and do nothing else. But a point guard that can actually distribute the ball well and not just, kick the ball, get a couple assists. Like, he actually makes great plays. He comes off of screens hard. He makes his team better. by everything that he does as a point guard. And then on the other side of the ball, he's getting steals. He's on defense, active, out on the perimeter, out on those guards. So he's not just a point guard that just looks cool and, brings the ball up. He's actually an active player, and I think that has so much impact on his team. Now, even though Rutgers isn't the best, I think it's amazing how he's able to stand out so well. And he makes Ace Bailey, which is another freshman that's been talked about, I think he makes him look even better because of the plays that he does create for them.
I think the same thing applies for Trey Johnson, to be honest with you, because Texas is really not all that good this year. I think they could sneak in. I could see Texas in that 11 seed play-in game. But Trey Johnson, without him, they're bottom of the SEC.
So they might not make the NIT if they don't have him. That's how, with how elite that SEC is, they would struggle so much. I think Cooper Flagg's a great player. I'm not taking anything away from him. I think he's incredible. He's dynamic. He's something that college basketball hasn't seen in a few years. I just think Trey Johnson has that capability on offense to be a Kevin Durant-like player, which for how good Cooper Flagg is, I don't know if he has that potential, and so that's why I picked Trey Johnson.
Kevin Durant.
I think he has the scoring potential like Kevin Durant. I think if you watch enough of his game, he's the best offensive scorer seen at University of Texas since him. I think he has that dynamicism, however you say that word, that the potential to be like him on offense.
Kevin Durant.
Yes.
Kevin Durant.
Jake.
You think he has the scoring ability of Kevin Durant?
I think he can. Watch in 5-10 years. I want y'all all to see how it plays out.
You're gonna put it on record.
I think Gabe's kind of valid here because I can say, like, as a fan, Trey Johnson is the most fun player to watch in the NCAA to me. I love watching him shoot the basketball.
Wow.
I really think the skills are going to translate and going to translate well. And so I think he's going to be a star in just a few years. Just y'all watch.
Gabe, we'll see about that. I just can't wait to see Kevin Durant pan out from there. When we come back, we will have more college basketball talk. We're going to talk about the Mean Green and the Green Wave going at it today in Denton, so don't go anywhere.
GLAD to me means a safe space. It means a place where I can just kind of hang out, have fun, and just be around other queer people. There's drag shows that we attend, other movie screenings in collaborations with some of the film guilds. We run fundraisers for both charities and for our own organizations. Just the general support from everybody, it blew me away, and I had never really seen that from an organization before, so I was like, screw it, I'll join.
So a man's been walking in the desert for days at a time. He finally comes across a bar and orders a Coke.
That's not funny.
Eh?
Welcome back, folks. Mean Green Mania. We're going to talk about the North Texas Mean Green going against the Tulane Green Wave this afternoon at the Super Pit. I'm Jake Levine, joined by my great analysts, Jazzer Williams, Gabe Ife, Adam C. So, guys, UNT has got to pick things up today. 2 losses in a row. That's the first time that's happened this year. And they've got a pretty tough test against Tulane. UNT, I saw, is favored in this game by 9.5. I want quick thoughts on that. To me, it seems like a lot. But for a Tulane team that is pretty solid, 6-3 in conference, is 9.5 a lot?
I think so.
Oh, go for it, guys.
I apologize, Jazzer, but I think that Tulane is really good. I think 9.5 is a bit over the top because I don't think UNT's defense, especially after losing the last 2 games, they're going to come in with extra fire. I don't think that they're going to let Tulane run all over them today.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to play devil's advocate here. I think what Vegas is, or whatever the gambling sites are predicting, 9.5-point favorites, I think that they think UNT is going to have a classic get-back game. I think it's still going to be close, especially in the first half. I think this is one of those games where, I believe FAU, even Temple, we pull away in the end. I think it's a game where our guards finally start to step up, where our big men play as well. Brennan Lorien has a big game. I think in the second half he plays well. I think it's a game where it might be tied at halftime. We might be losing, but it's a game I think we take over in the last 5-6 minutes and might, end up getting somewhere around that, 7-10 point win.
I think that's pretty good logic. I do feel like the 9.5 spread is a little bit too high. I would say maybe 4.
Oh.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I feel like Tulane is going to show up a little bit more than people are anticipating. I think that Tulane's offense is a lot heftier than people think. Obviously, people talk about Brumbo and say that, he's a big factor, but they also have other scorers that can take off and have their offense allows them to create really good scoring opportunities because this team can score so easily.
Yeah, Brumbaugh is really a serious problem for Tulane. I know, Gabe, you specifically had your key to the game as being stop Brumbaugh because it kind of seems like he's the shooter that can expose the flaws in our defense. Our defense doesn't have many flaws, but when a team has a good shooting night like UTSA did against North Texas, they can come out with a win in the Super Pit. What are they going to do to stop Brumbaugh tonight?
He's shooting 36% from 3, averaging 15 a game. If you let him get hot from the 3-point line, we're in trouble because we don't have that offensive pace that can turn around and get those shots right back. And so we need we really need Jasper Floyd, Jonathan Massey. Jonathan Massey, I think, is a key in this game. I think he needs to play great defense, especially against Brumbaugh. I imagine that's who will have him matching up. But whatever guard is facing up against him, I believe Brumbaugh is upwards of 6'4", 6'5". So I think he'll have the height, but we need that defensive guard to just shut him down tonight. And then I want to get into one other guy real quick. Caleb Banks is averaging 16 points a game. He's a big man for them. And so between him and Cam Williams, they're two big men. They're averaging 25 points a game collectively, whereas you look at Brendan Lorian and Mulai Sissoko, collectively they're only averaging 20 points a game. So that 5-point difference could play a factor in this game. I really think the big man plus up and Rome Brumbaugh is the key to our defense this game.
That 5-point difference could bring a 9.5 line right down to Jazra's key number of 4.
Could be 4.
Adam, what's your key to the game today for North Texas?
I have multiple keys to the game, but one of my first, kind of like you said, we need to focus on the perimeter. Brumbaugh and Williams are going to hit beyond the arc. You mentioned Brumbaugh. I want to mention Cam Williams. This guy's a 40% three-point shooter, can get hot at any moment out of nowhere. That's a guy that you need to focus on because I feel like if Cam Williams gets hot, as you've said, we are not built to make comebacks. So please, I can't emphasize this in any other way. You need to lock in on defense. The perimeter needs to be covered. We can't be letting guys get open shots. We can't be letting Brumbaugh create. We need to make them uncomfortable. We need to force them out of their play style. And even then, I want to focus on our offense. We need to actually work today. We need to take care of the ball. We can't have another 15 turnover game, or else we are going to lose this. You can have a 15 turnover game against Wichita State and get away with it. You cannot do that against Tulane. Yeah. And Tulane's defense is one of the most underrated in this conference. They can give us fits if we're not careful. We're going to need to spread out the attack, and we're going to have to just play that UNT basketball we had during the 11-game win streak.
Well, and one way where we don't have to come back is if we can lead at halftime. We haven't led at halftime of a home game all conference season. And while
is that real?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't led at halftime of a conference game at home all year.
All year.
That is stinky.
Yes.
That's
gonna
so
bite
bad.
You. And so that's why eventually these losses are catching up to us because we're starting behind so much that not every game we're going to be able to shut them down, go on a 4-minute scoring, causing the other team to do a 4-minute scoring drought, something to that extent. We need to start out hot this game. Now, it doesn't even need to be a 10-point lead at halftime. We just need to play competent offense to where it's like a 5-point deficit either way, because then we're fine. But if we're going in this game down 11, down 12, we don't have that capability. Just hit a couple shots and be right back in it.
I want to go off what you said and what you said, Adam, is that we don't have the capability to make a comeback just in general, usually, especially against a team that can score so well. They have so many sources of points. So for us, I hate to be a broken record, but the defense for UNT has to be alert and active because if they are asleep at any point in this game, it can easily go very, very bad because the way that Tulane's offense is built, they know that they can score. And so if UNT is able to contain these sources of scoring, I think that we can actually focus on our offense as far as having quality possessions, because if we, like we've said multiple times throughout this show, we are a slow-paced offense. And so if we take those quality possessions and we put points up on the board, we know that Tulane is going to score. And that's fine because they score well. But we have to keep that scoring at a minimum so that when we do have those times where we're struggling to score, it's not so bad to where we can pull it out.
Well, I'll say the one exception to what we've all said is the UAB home game where we came back from, I believe, 19 points.
Right.
That game we did come back. But also, what did you see in that game? Elite guard play. Adam Wright hit the big three at the buzzer. But we scored 81 points that game. We haven't scored 81, I don't believe, since. Well, we've been scoring the 60 to maybe close to 70 range. But we've had multiple games in the 50s. But if that's the one game where we showed we could come back, but we also saw amazing guard play. Adam Wright took over to lead that comeback. You know, all of our guards were firing on all cylinders. And so if you're going to be behind, you have to have that offensive comeback, which we haven't been able to prove to do consistently.
Yeah, and I think I agree with that as being my key of the game, really, is that this team needs to play more upbeat, more up pace, because when they start falling into the struggles of a 25-second possession ending with some sort of jacked up mid-range jumper by Mulai Sissoko, I mean, what kind of offense are we running there? And I think they just got to do that by just forgetting about the past. You know, obviously we've lost these last two games. Last time they played in the Super Pit in front of a crowd that would probably be double as what it is today. It did not end well. And so, you know, you can compare these teams all you want. You know, North Texas, Memphis, they're very different in terms of how they go about winning. We know what the UNT style of winning looks like. We've seen it for years here. I think they got to get away from it because I'm really tired of the slow offense. I'm really tired of the offense that ends in some sort of shot that goes up with 2 seconds left on the shot clock. And that's about all I've got for that. So what do we got coming up next? We've got predictions for the best games in college basketball as well as the Mean Green. So we'll be right back, and don't go anywhere, folks.
Did you know you have access to video equipment like DVDs, video games, and cameras? That's right, you do. Come on down to Chilton Library and fulfill your media dream. Located on the bottom floor next to the student sculpture. Hope to see you there soon. Hey girl, you know you look good. I like the way you move and groove. I'm not sure.
Welcome back to Mean Green Mania. I'm Jake Levine. For our final segment, we're going to talk about some of these great games in college basketball, and I've got Jazzer Williams, Gabe Ife, Adam C. with me to do it. And the number one game that we are all looking at is definitely Florida and Auburn. Here's the issue I have with this game. Florida should not be ranked 6th in the country. What is the deal with Florida? They've just played a terrible schedule. They're 1-2 against teams ranked in the top 25. Auburn is 8-1 against teams ranked in the top 25. That's unheard of. I'm going with Auburn, and I don't think this is even going to be close.
Auburn, I have nothing to say.
I think it'll be a little closer than expected. I do think Florida's an all right team. Johnny Broom, I think, is going to dominate today. I have Auburn as well.
I don't think it's going to be close. I think Auburn blows them out of the water. This is a generational team.
Yeah, I think so. I think Auburn is just metrically, is that a word? Metrics-wise, just an insane team, a team that we haven't really seen before. Now a game that's going to be a little closer. A&M and Missouri, or Mizzou, whichever one you want to call it. I think that I'm going to go with Mizzou, and the reason is because A&M in the last few games has not really shown the A&M that we saw before. They blew that 20-point lead to Texas. Texas, not all that. They snuck past Oklahoma, and they snuck past South Carolina by 4. I don't really trust A&M to go on the road and beat Missouri in a tough environment.
I agree. I was going to bring up how they have had some close losses, or had some close wins in the past couple games. So I think the close wins are very important to look at and note that this team is not really performing the way it should, but they pulled it out. So I'm going to go with Mizzou as well.
I think this game depends on Wade Taylor, I believe. I think if he's hot, A&M can win this game. But I'm going with Missouri as well. They're 15-0 at home, and I don't expect that streak to end today. I think Tamar Bates, who's averaging 14 a game for them, I think he's going to step up and shine this afternoon. I think that Missouri's going to pull it out.
All right, I'm the odd one out here. I have A&M. Mizzou is playing their 4th-ranked top 16 team in a row, and I actually don't see them beating A&M today. They just took a loss to Tennessee, and I'm afraid that they keep that momentum going into today's game.
You know what? I actually watched that Mizzou-Tennessee game, and I really thought that Mizzou kind of hung in there the whole time.
They did.
Today's game will be good for sure.
It definitely will.
It'll be a really close game.
I think it'll be game of the day.
And, well, I think you've got competition with this next game. Texas Tech at Arizona, the 13th ranked Red Raiders at the 20th ranked Wildcats. I think this is going to be a great game, but I'm going with Texas Tech. There's a reason why they jumped 9 spots after beating Houston on the road. They're a very good road team. They've won 7 in a row, 9 of their last 10, and their defense travels. We saw that at Houston. Jazra.
That's one thing that I will always talk about is defense, and Texas Tech's defense on the men's side has been so good, and it shows up so well to where it just pushes them out. Even if they are struggling on offense, their defense just shows up for them every time, and they're able to get these wins, and that's exactly what they've been doing.
Grant McCaslin special, UNT legend.
I think they're riding high. You know, that Baylor win was really big for them as well to come after that Houston win. I do think they'll be brought back to earth by Caleb Love. I know your thoughts on Caleb Love. I think he's bouncing back. He hasn't had a great season. He had a great half-court buzzer beater the other day. You know, Arizona's offense, for how good Tech's defense is, Arizona's offense is averaging 83 points a game. And so I think Arizona, being at home, I think they can carry that momentum with the home crowd. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Arizona's going to pull it out.
I vehemently disagree with you. Texas Tech is going to get a very easy win today. If I had the time as a North Carolina fan, I would go off for the next 20 minutes about how much I dislike Caleb Love. But Texas Tech, I think that their defense wins the day, and they have a hard fought win on the road.
All right, now I think this is the most interesting game that we've got to talk about. Number 11 Marquette at Creighton, who's unranked somehow. I don't know how Creighton's not ranked. Creighton is favored in this game by 4.5 against the 11th ranked team in the country. I'm going with Creighton. They've won 8 in a row, and 4 of those games were by double digits, and they've won 10 of the last 11. Marquette coming in this game having 2 straight losses. Yes, they're both ranked teams, but I really don't think Marquette is ever all that. I'm a huge Creighton guy. I'm going with Creighton.
Honestly, when I saw this matchup, I had to think for a second because Creighton is such a good team, and they just have this root of this play style that they love to go to and have as a backup, and they always show out with that play style, and I agree with it. It works so well for Creighton, but I'm going to go with Marquette. I do think that Marquette will overtop Creighton in this one, but honestly, whoever wins, I'm not mad at it, nor would I be surprised, because these are 2 really, really good teams, and I think that either could take it.
This is a very big game for the Golden Eagles. Surprisingly, I didn't know that was their mascot name until yesterday. I had to look it up.
Golden Eagles versus Blue Jays.
Yeah.
That's sick.
And so I think, you talk about those 2 losses being to ranked teams. It was St. John's and UConn, who are both really good teams. I think St. John's is much better than UConn. But those are both tough losses. And so I think Shaka Smart and company bounce back. I think Cam Jones, who's averaging 19 points a game for Marquette, I think he has a big game today. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think Creighton is a really great team, but I think ultimately Marquette has to have this game to get another key win on their resume. I think they win this game.
I'm going to have to go with the Jakester here because personally, I think today it's the perfect storm for an upset. Creighton coming in with 8 wins. Marquette, has seemed to struggle these last 2 games, and I think they go into Creighton today, and Creighton picks up a very close win and finally finds their way into the top 25.
I don't understand how they're not already. Adam,
I'm going to agree with you on
yeah,
that. They should be ranked.
That's just objective.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, come on. Like,
me and you, Adam, Cooper Flag and Creighton.
Woo!
Put it there. So, UNT Tulane. We've got UNT Tulane today and tomorrow. We're going to talk about the women's game that will be tomorrow afternoon, Super Bowl Sunday. National television for the first time in UNT women's basketball history. They're going to be on national TV at the Super Pit. I'm going with the Mean Green. I think they're due for a win. They've lost 2 in a row. And I think there's a Tulane team that's kind of snuck by in a lot of wins. They're not really showing me that they're actually a team to beat come conference tournament play.
I'm going to agree with you. They did just lose 2, and I think that this UNT women's team is a really, really momentum-based team. So they're going to come with that energy and that fire. They did lose to Tulane the last time that they had met up, and I think that they'll take it back this time. So I'm going to go with the Mean Green.
I agree. I was going to bring that up as well. You know, I don't think UNT loses twice in the regular season to Tulane. Yeah. You know, I think South Florida and UTSA are tremendous teams. It's the top, these 4 teams right here, the 2 teams they just lost to, and Tulane, who they play on Sunday, are the top 4 in the conference easily. And so I really think they get their revenge. I think they're a mad team coming off 2 losses, playing in front of, on ESPNU for the first time in program history. I think they make a statement win tomorrow.
I think UNT comes out and gets a win. I think they're going to rebound, and we're going to be undefeated on national television.
1-0, baby. Here we go. Last game is today, 2 o'clock. The Mean Green and the Green Wave men's teams going at it. The Mean Green 7-3 in conference. The Green Wave 6-3 in conference. Should be a good game. I would take Tulane to cover plus 9.5 if we're still talking about that spread. But give me the Mean Green to come out with a win. They are snapping this losing streak. They're getting right back on track, and they are due. They're due for a game in which should be flawless. I'm thinking about the Rice game that happened a few weeks ago. I want to see that today.
I agree. That was a really good game to bring up. But I'm going to go with UNT as well, just because I'm more so hopeful and cheering for them. I'm hoping that UNT does pull it out against Tulane. I think that if they do perform well, obviously, like you've mentioned a couple of times, this will perform very well for them in standings-wise when we talk about all that stuff later as far as the American Conference. But I think that if UNT performs well against this team, against this Tulane offense, and they show a formidable front on defense, I think that this could be some momentum that they have going forward to maybe hit that late season surge and win the rest of their games.
I debated this game a lot. I was sitting there doing my notes yesterday. Oh, I kind of wanted to pick Tulane. Based on UNT's performance over the past couple weeks or so, there is every reason to think that Tulane could come in here today. If they keep on playing their brand of basketball, they gave Memphis a run for their money before it got ugly late. I really think Tulane could come in here and maybe win, but give me the Mean Green. I'm basing this off. I don't think Ross Hodge and company are going to let UNT come in and lose a 2nd straight game at home. You know, they're one of the best teams at home in the country over the past couple of years. I don't see that happening again. They're going to defend the Super Pit today. I think it's going to be close, but I really do think at the end of the game it'll turn into that FAU game or that Temple game. Well, we'll just overtake them, and it'll end up being a 10-point game or so.
I can agree. I feel really nervous going into this game, and if we lose today, oh boy, we are in for a whole heap of trouble. But I see the Mean Green rebounding today, and in fact, I'm calling it right now. We've been talking about it all show. Atten Wright 20 burger. We're going to be feasting on that 20 burger today. We're going to have a standout performance from him today. Okay. He's due.
I would love to see it. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to host Mean Green Mania. Get ready for it the rest of this season. I'm Jake Levine, joined by Jazza Williams, Gabe Ife, Adam C. We'll see you next time. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And let's go Mean Green.